Hey, it's Russ and Lauren from the Infectious Groove Music channel here on YouTube. And recently we took a trip back to my hometown, Detroit, Michigan, and Lauren had never been there before. So there was a lot of music-based stuff around town that I wanted to show her. Not the least of which, and I think it might have been actually the very first thing I said we were going to do while we were in town, is we went to Hitsville USA, which is, of course, just outside of downtown on Barry Gordy Avenue. And it's a row of houses that created a entire genre of music that you have heard your entire life. Many artists you love have been inspired by what was created right there on that street. So Lauren and I went to Hitsville. I had been there many, many times, having grown up not far from it. Nearly every time someone came to Detroit who hadn't been there, I'd be like, well, but while you're in town, we got to go to Hitsville. So for me, it's fun going through Hitsville for many reasons, which we'll get into, but it's also fun for me to go with someone and watch them see things for the first time. So as we went through it, what were some of the things you saw that were amazing to you?
Well, first and foremost, I was absolutely... you told me it was small. You told me like it's just houses, but then you get there and you're like, oh my gosh, like it really is just houses. And the juxtaposition between the size of the space and then the breadth of like great stuff that came out of that space is just crazy.
Yeah, like two literal normal size houses. They're not mansions by any means. They're just normal size houses, but like the reverberation that happened all across the globe and still to this day happens, that came from just those houses. Yeah, it's one thing I like in it too, and I know you haven't been there yet either, is Graceland. When people first see Graceland, and you will do this, they're like, I can't believe it's so small, you know. And Graceland was built in 1927. Elvis never added on to it, you know what I mean? And that was the same thing with this. As big of an empire as Motown became, they still had everything they needed in those houses. Yeah.
I just thought it really, really was amazing. And I thought that the one thing I need to make sure that I mention is that I love that the guided tour size is so small. So you don't feel like you're in like just a cattle call of people going through this thing. They really respect what happened in those buildings by making sure that you get a good kind of personalized experience going through it.
And they are, at the time of this filming, you're still seeing the original version of the tour. They are doing, they keep stressing that they're not taking anything away, but they are doing a big, huge renovation, and they're going to add a lot to the Motown Museum experience. Personally, I doubt it, but I really hope that guided tour doesn't go away. I hope it doesn't become self-guided.
Right.
Because like you said, one of the things for me, and I'm sure I said this to you 100 times before we went there, is just the reverence of it. Like every time you enter a room in that place, you're literally walking in the same space that Diana Ross and the Temptations and the Four Tops and the Jackson 5 and all. You're literally walking in the same footsteps as those people. And the people that do the guided tours, you can tell that they have the same reverence for where you are and what happened.
Yeah, they're definitely not bored and just kind of going through the motions. They absolutely are like, nope, this is why this space is so important. And, you know, it's funny. I was at the salon and the Supremes came on and she's literally like rinsing out my hair. And I said, oh, I was in the room where this was recorded. And she was like, what, really? I'm like, yeah. So it's something that sticks with you after you go there.
So we'll get to that in a minute. I want to talk about like what I consider to be the grand finale of the thing. But before that, like when you're walking through the actual museum prior to the big ending, was there anything else that stood out that you were like, whoa, like I can't believe this?
Yeah, well, obviously, you know, just the memorabilia and the costumes and the outfits and just the stuff, you know. And I think what you said, that with the expansion of it, maybe because currently it's rotating exhibits.
Yeah, and they used, again, another reference to Graceland. When Graceland was a smaller operation, when they used to have a thing in the back in the racquetball court had been converted to kind of like a Hall of Elvis. And they would rotate through. So a lot of his suits would be in there and then a lot of awards. And then you'd go the next time and they'd have different stuff. I envision like what they've done at Graceland is they built a whole complex across the street where all of it is out now. I assume that's what we're going to get here. But yeah, it is, again, like right now when we went through there, it was there was a whole exhibit about the cover art from the 70s and a lot of things that people don't realize went into the cover art. And I love that we got to see that, but how many people went because it was rotating that didn't see that?
Right.
So, but the grand finale of the tour, and to me, I'm sure I talked to you about this for months prior, but I don't think anything can prepare you for actually, you get to stand in Studio A, which I think is ridiculous. Yeah. This would be, if you've never been to Detroit or if you're not even familiar with Motown, this would be like getting to stand in Abbey Road, Sunset Sound, Sound City, Electric Ladyland. I feel like this is up there or above those places. And it depends. I don't know what forces everybody watching this believes in the universe, but that room has a power. It has a vibe.
Oh yeah, it definitely does. And like, there is no way to prepare you for it. You know, you go down these like little kind of rickety steps that are just in a house, and then you're in this room that produced all of this amazing music, and it's not a big room.
No.
And what I thought
it would be enough to fit, say, a horn section if needed, or a rhythm band if needed, or an artist who's truly inspired, Marvin Gaye, who's truly inspired to bring in different sounds and whatnot. Like, it's just enough room to make happen what they made happen.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And they really bring you into it too, because I don't know if this happens on every tour, but it happened on ours. Our tour guide kind of led us in a sing along of My Girl. So I get to say, I sang a song in Studio
Yeah. It's
A.
like you sang vocals in the same studio as the Queen of Soul or Marvin Gaye or Michael Jackson. Yeah. It's astounding. So that's kind of our recap of visiting Hitsville, USA. Throughout the video, I've been throwing up little pictures here and there of what we took. I can't stress enough, if you live even remotely close enough to Detroit to make that happen, I would go as soon as possible. Again, I don't think they're going to destroy anything when they do these big renovations, but I do think it's worthwhile. And we will go again after the renovations for sure. But if you were like, this was part of a pre-planned trip for Detroit, is this a thing you would tell, like, would you, like, I personally think music lovers should just go to this no matter what? Like, would you say that? Or if you're in Detroit, go. Like, what would you say?
Oh gosh. Well, I feel like everybody should go. Music lovers are gonna, like, real music lovers are gonna get one thing out of it. But then, even if you're just kind of like, okay, this is something I should see, the way the whole thing is set up and kind of the way the tour works, like, I think it'll change anybody that goes through it.
Yeah, I think so as well. That's my big thing too. I have taken people who were just in town, who viewed themselves as casual fans and came out with like a whole new reverence of Hitsville and Motown in general. So those are our thoughts on the Hitsville, or more Lauren's thoughts than mine, because I could go on and on and on. But let us know what you think. Have you been to Hitsville, USA? Is it somewhere you want to go? Will you want to go now because you've seen this video? Drop a comment and let us know. And as we always say, thank you so much for watching.